And we will, I mean, we always are having conversations with the fire department about the process, cause, you know, it's a different animal being a volunteer department where other departments have regular meetings and we have department heads that are constantly communicating, not just with their employees as far as what their needs are during the budget process, but with Greg as he puts it together. And so, you know, we would continue to remind them as we start this in, whether March or whenever we start this, is that if they do have items that they're waiting on estimates from, at least tell us that they're waiting on the estimate so we can have placeholders in the process, so that when we do get to this point, you're not surprised by the item, because it's always been identified. It's just a matter of the cost, is that the cost you want to incur or not. And so, but it's just different when you're, you know, obviously with volunteers, it's just a different,
I'll remind them.
Thank you.
it's just a different
He was able to
interaction.
articulate what I was saying much better.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
It does need to be in timely though, because it makes a difference. This item, this 29, when you look at the budget in totality, you'll note that in the general fund, there's now approximately a $30,000 deficit. We have the money set away for them, but when you think about it, there's no corresponding revenue coming in this year for this specifically, so it shows as a deficit of this amount.
Well, and I think for me, like last year and this year also, we'll have 4 hearings on the budget, and with the postcard meeting, that's 5. Just, it would have been nice to have everything included as best as possible in those all those hearings.
Yep.
I'll emphasize that.
Other than that, I hadn't received any other specific questions or comments from council that, and if I did, I would have responded back to all of you and shared those. So that's kind of where we're at. We did submit the budget with all of these elements in on Friday to the auditors for all the public notices. So as you see it now with what was submitted in the paper, if we make dramatic changes from that budget, it may involve some back-end stuff that we would do on that 24th meeting to amend the budget or amend the notice and put more notices out. Just kind of give you a little lay of the land, but, and then I think we have 60,000 total with all these adjustments. With that added revenue we're asking for, by not reducing down to the postcard threshold, there's 60,000 in there for the initial ADA sidewalk project program that we're gonna try and implement.
Okay. Was there more earlier, or was that about what the number was we were expecting?
We were expecting 68 in
Okay.
additional between where the mayor's budget was offered and then where it went, so.
Okay,
We have
so
60,000 in
close.
sidewalk improvements, it's close.
pretty close, okay, good.
But again, small little nuanced things, working with Mike to get those final HDR numbers, and things just keep rolling in. I mean, it doesn't, especially when they're gonna fall into October.
And having slight deficit spending isn't the end of the world. It's just, you know, we've had more deficit spending in the past, and the hope, I mean, at some point you have to stop.
Right.
At some point you have to let the revenues catch up, and so we've been trying to wean ourselves off of that. And so that's where we continue. I think this, again, is not, what's the deficit spending on this?
The total
Yeah.
in the current budget I offered you is 30,000, just a hair shy of 30.
But just be cognizant that the goal is to reduce that down to 0 or less. But it's tough because, you know, as you're balancing revenues, much of which is tax revenues with spending, and you're trying to keep that as balanced as possible. Because if we had a huge surplus, then you would say, well, why, maybe we need to lower taxes. If you don't have enough, you don't want to be in a position to have to raise taxes. So striking that balance is why you are also handsomely paid as council members.
Yeah. Thank you for your work on it.
Sydney Golden, our finance director, is also here. So she put in a lot of work,
Thank
moving
you.
a lot of things around and getting it ready to hand off to the auditors on Friday and get that sent off. So we may be putting in the same amount of hours to clean up whatever mess we provided them once they turn it back around to us this week. So, and get it turned around for notification in the paper. So we'll be sending that out on Friday.
Any other questions or comments from the council?
Again, my anticipation is I will attend and present at the hearing. I won't throw Sydney to the wolves,
Yeah.
since I did last year. My presentation will probably be the exact same presentation with adjusted numbers, and then I'll specifically note that the added revenue that was requested by the council is being put into this sidewalk project program.
Do you need any?
We're not doing anything different than what I've offered unless somebody's got something floating out there or feels very strongly one way or the other. If not, then we just move on.
Everyone good?
Yep.
Okay. Move on to item 3. This is consideration of a no-cost change order number 1 to the contract with is it Eisler Demolition for the demolition of the 200,000 gallon tank water tower. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, and good evening. So this is for the third of 3 contracts for the water tower. The water tower itself has taken considerably longer to construct. We anticipate coating to begin, actually mobilizing last week, which they did not do. So we certainly hope that they'll start this week. That's like an 8-week process. We don't anticipate the communication provider, so AT&T and US Cellular, to be able to install their equipment until November 25th, and they'll have roughly a month. So this here is to extend the third contract for demolition of the existing tower as far out as we think we should go, just to give them flexibility in when they come in and dismantle that tower. The dismantling process of the tower itself is probably one physical day. There's a lot of prep work, and then there's removal of the base structure and the concrete around it, which is a separate operation. So this is simply an extension of that contract, no change to the contract amount. And so I ask your approval and approving this change order number 1 for the contract with Eisler.
Move to approve.
Second.
Move in a second. Any further discussion? Did you have to say something else? You good?
I just said second.
Okay. You raise your hand. It's like,
I
like
just
an
wanna
auction.
get in
I
You're,
felt like we were in an auction.
you're gonna buy something. Sold.
Sold.
Register your
Sold.
votes. Richard, do you want to vote on this one?
I do. I was just enjoying it.
Moment, we
Just
had a
soak,
moment.
just soak
We had a
in,
moment.
soak in the moment.
It's-
Please
There's
display
not
the
many
votes.
of those.
Voting in favor, Wilkin, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Singleton, Strikes, and Morgan, 7-0.
Alright, thank you. Item 4, items related to the Bradford Street Storm Sewer Improvements Project. Mike?
Thank you. So this is to amend the construction services that we get from Schemmer, the design engineer, while the projects are ongoing. We have 2 of these. This one first here for Bradford Street. Essentially, we've had a lot of work orders. The next item is for work order number 10, and these 10 additional items has extended the amount of time that these projects are ongoing. So essentially what this is to cover the cost of Schemmer's oversight of that construction during this extended period of time. So certainly with your approval of this extension of $57,815.
So moved.
Second.
The motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilkin, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Singleton, Strikes, and Morgan, 7-0.
Item B, you have a second change order?
So this is work order number 10 for the contractor installing the Bradford Street storm sewer improvements. What we found here is at the end of Bradford at 6th Street.
Real quick, Mike,
Sure thing.
do you know what color vehicle that is, chief?
Turn it on.
Alright. Apologies.
So, we found out at the very last minute, as the state contractor was pouring their concrete, they anticipated storm water coming onto our project heading downhill in Bradford. In actuality, in front of the Civic Center is the high point, and it goes downhill to the east, and so they both join right at the cusp of the 2 projects. So effectively, the lowest cost option is to install a couple inlets there, and so this change order, the amount of, if you total all these items up, $38,719.41. All of the last two items were from the original bid quantities and bid prices given. And so we think it's a reasonable addition to the project, and of course, necessary to avoid a ponding. So I think Jonathan can attest to the ponding that occurred there for many, many years, and we, of course, just found out why, indeed. So I seek your approval of this work order number 10. Ultimately, with the other work orders, 3 through 10 will become a single change order and signed in unison. But this particular one for $38,719.
Move to approve.
A motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilken, Taylor, Tines, Colchman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 7-0.
Alright, thank you. Item 5, consideration of an amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement with the Schemmer Associates Incorporated for construction engineering services for the Park Avenue Storm Sewer Improvements Project in the amount of $50,335. Mike?
So, thank you. This is similar to the item 4A. Of course, Bradford and Park Avenue, they were designed in unison. They were awarded in unison, same contractor. And we also had several additional items in the course of that project. Work orders number 1 through 5. A 6th work order will appear at the next council meeting. So this here is to increase the amount of construction services by the design engineer for that extension of the construction activity for the extended period of time it takes the contractor to complete that work. And so that amount is $50,335 for the Park Avenue project, so seeking council approval on that amendment.
Move to approve.
Second.
The motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilken, Taylor, Tines, Colchman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 7-0.
Item 6, consideration to approve a construction contract with Erickson Construction for general contracting for the reverse osmosis improvements project in the amount of $342,700. Mike?
Thank you. So this is the second of 2 contracts. We've already awarded and signed a contract with the Harn RO Systems for the procurement of the equipment. That amount just under $700,000. This amount here for Erickson Construction out of Blair is for installation of that equipment out of the water treatment plant. We have 2 skids out there. The equipment is the 3rd skid plus ancillary equipment. This is for the contractor's installation in the open bay that was originally designed in that plant. And so the contract was awarded, the amount, $342,700. Council on August 6th meeting awarded that contract to Erickson. They've completed all their paperwork, submitted all their bonds, and now we're asking for authority for the mayor to sign that contract and all other documents, issued a notice to proceed.
Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilken, Taylor, Tines, Colchman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 7-0.
Item 7, consideration to approve an agreement with Broken Arrow Excavating LLC for the wastewater treatment facility improvement soil surcharge project in the amount of $506,600. Mike?
Thank you very much. And so this also similarly, this project was awarded to Broken Arrow, lowest of 4 bidders, awarded by the city council on at the August 6th meeting. In that period of time, they've completed all their paperwork, submitted the bonds, all associated paperwork that are necessary. And so at this point, we're asking for approval for the mayor to sign the contract in the amount of $506,600 with Broken Arrow and to issue a notice to proceed.
Move to approve. Second.
The motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilken, Taylor, Tines, Colchman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 7-0.
Item 8, authorization for the mayor to sign an acknowledgement from the Seward County Rural Fire Protection District relating to disbursement of funds for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. Greg?
Yeah, this is kind of a odd request that came in, but we were okay with it. Essentially, the concern that this is trying to rectify is funds that are coming in from taxpayers in Seward County rural fire districts that come in and then are distributed out to each individual volunteer fire department. There was concern that those funds were being, I don't wanna say commingled, but that's kind of really what it is. That fire departments have individual accounts, and those accounts tend to be non-government accounts. We don't, because the fire department is a specific department of the city, rather than if they were their own kind of political entity. But other rural fire departments are, and so they kind of sit on their own. So if they raise money, they put it in this trust account, and that is on government funds for the use of whatever the volunteer fire department deems them for. We do have those funds, and we do have a trust account and a nonprofit that can do that kind of stuff, but the rural fire money that comes into the larger apparatus, the state funds and things like that that come in, they have to have a direct path to fire equipment and firefighting. You cannot mix them with those non-governmental funds. So what they're asking for is to us verify and say that we are following the rules, which we don't have this problem. All our money goes into the general fund of the city, and we earmark all of those. I mean, we spend way more than they give us in regards to fire each year. And so, not a huge concern for us, but we have to sign it. We didn't have a problem. Sydney was here earlier. She took a look at it. So we don't have a specific concern in authorizing the mayor to sign it. John, do you have anything to add on that?
No, it's just a paper trail, and I'll move to approve.
Alright, you have a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes, please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilken, Taylor, Tanya, Coltman, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 7-0.
Alright, next we have item 9, consideration of a resolution to authorize the city to apply for a land and water conservation fund grant, Plum Creek Turf Project. Greg?
Just overlooked in all the work that Joel's doing in regards to the wellness center and being an assistant on the turf project. There was a resolution that was included in the packet for the application. As soon as I identified it, I said, hey, Joel, we gotta get this on the agenda, we still have time, let's start on this agenda. Basically, this is just a formal authorization with resolution to apply for that grant that we talked about last meeting.
So moved.
Well, it is a resolution, so I'll need someone to introduce the resolution.
Sorry, resolution, not a motion. I'll introduce resolution.
Alright,
Pay more
Res-
attention.
so the resolution has been introduced and is designated as resolution number 2024-25. Would anyone like to move that this resolution be passed and
I'll
adopted?
move that it's being removed and passed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wilken, Taylor, Tanya, Coltman, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 7-0.
Alright, item 10, consideration of a membership agreement with the Seward County Chamber and Economic Development Partnership for fiscal year 25. Jonathan Jenk, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Thanks for the investment of time tonight to consider these items. I'm going to pass out a couple of documents here.
Thank you.
First, want to start off by saying thank you for the city's past investment in our organization. We're grateful for that ongoing partnership. I also want to give specific thanks to Councilmember Kaler for serving as your representative on our board of directors. Grateful for her investment of time and effort. She represents the community very well on our board, and specifically serves as our board secretary now, so grateful for that. We want to display our compliance with the funding agreement before you. This is our legal document that outlines our formal relationship with the city of Seward. So to walk through that briefly, the funding agreement was signed from October 1, 23 to the end of this month in 24. The city's annual investment was $73,760 in our organization for that fiscal year. And it's spent towards the operations of our organization and according to Nebraska statute. You want to see the statute that it's tied to, that's the second attached paper there in your packet. The public funds were and are segregated in a separate bank account, and that's part of the reason we do our annual review to ensure that there's public dollars and private dollars separated. been used only for the purposes of economic development as outlined in the statute. We had the annual audit conducted within 60 days of June 30th to ensure compliance with this agreement. Proof of the audit, which was conducted on July 25th, was actually emailed to you earlier today. And then also we had an additional independent financial review conducted at the beginning of 2023 that we emailed you a copy of on July 19th. We'd like the council to consider renewing your support of economic development efforts in Seward County through entering into a new funding agreement and public membership agreement with our organization for your upcoming fiscal year. I'd like to briefly highlight some of the economic development, community development projects that we have been working on in fiscal year 23-24. And so that's the second handout that you have there, kind of the blue colored one. I think you can see it's pretty clear that Seward County continues to grow. I'd like to point your attention to one quote from Carly Carter, who's the owner of Little Cubs Daycare in Seward. We're excited to see her company grow and make a sizable investment in Seward by renovating a new facility in town to support children and families. This positively impacts our workforce development needs to help our growing local companies. And Carly's quote is as such: "I could not believe the amount of support and assistance that Jonathan and Jacob gave me when I called the SCCDP asking if the town needed more childcare. They instantly went to work trying to help me locate a building and gave me a tremendous amount of help with the state and federal grant writing process. I know I couldn't have opened Little Cubs Daycare Seward without their help. I am so thankful for them and the whole team at SCCDP." I wanted to share this because I think the quote does a nice job of articulating some of the ways that our organization can and does help new businesses, but of course existing businesses as well, to grow in our county. I want to highlight briefly the work of my hardworking teammates, Jacob Jennings, Donna Hendrickson, Joni Brechka, Colin Hine. We're really fortunate to have them on our team, and you get to see their work here, just highlighted there, as well as when I give you updates essentially every meeting about what's going on in our county. Just from a personal standpoint, we feel really fortunate to be in our roles and really honored to represent all of you in our countywide efforts. With that, I have tonight with me one of our board members, Scott Gearhand, who is our current vice chairperson. He represents the Utica Commercial Club on our board, and I asked him to come tonight to share a little bit of his feedback about his work with our organization. So I'll have Scott give a couple words.
Well, thank you for letting me speak tonight. Like you said, my name is Scott Gearin. I'm from Utica. I grew up in Utica, moved away for 20 years because of my career. It took me to Iowa and Colorado, and I've been in insurance and financial planning business for 25 years. Moved back 6 years ago when my dad passed away to help. I really took care of my mom and stuff like that. And so I have, not only do I represent the Utica Commercial Club, I'm the president of that organization, but I also have my own insurance agency, in Utica. I wanted to say some things about SCCDP and Jonathan and his staff, because they've helped us in Utica with several different things. Bronco Heights, that's finally getting off the ground and starting to be developed. Different organizations that I'm with, whenever we need direction, whenever we need some guidance, we always contact SCCDP, and they always have the direction that we should be going on, whether it's writing for grant money or really just some suggestions. So I wanted to come here tonight and really just talk about how it's been great for us here at Utica, and as part of the being the vice chair and being with SCCDP for the last few years, it's really opened up my eyes on how the group helps all of Seward County and how they help different organizations do the things they do. So that's really all I had to say, so thank you for letting me speak.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
To just mention a couple of final things here. Again, thanks for the Seward City Council's past membership investment in our organization. Last year we asked the Seward City Council for a 3% increase investment from what you made the year before. We are asking for a 6% increase this year from the Seward City Council because the cost of keeping talented professionals has gone up, and we are now offering health insurance for the first time as an organization. Actually, this is the first time the chamber's ever offered health insurance since 1899, and we're really proud of that. Also, as a part of our large renovation efforts currently taking place, of course, at the Seward Civic Center, we will now be paying $10,800 annually as reimbursement for expenses as part of our organization's space utilization in the facility. We will also be asking the other 3 public sector members for a 6% increase this fiscal year. And even with this funding increase request, we're still operating in a small budget deficit. This year, we're asking for your ongoing financial support because our scope of services and ability to impact economic development efforts in the county continues to grow. We did add a full-time staff member, Colin Hine, who serves in our front office as an executive assistant and events planner. And this really aligned with our strategic plan as we got feedback from both our public and our private sector members on what they're asking us to do. And so continue to expand Seward County. We need this increased level of investment just to be accountable from a budget standpoint. Seward, as well as our other public sector members, represent about 30% of our total budget. Therefore, we're requesting that the Seward City Council consider supporting the SCCDP during your upcoming fiscal year with a $78,186 investment. Thanks again for your past investment. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments for Jonathan? So we have 2 items here, right, Jonathan?
Yep.
Yes.
So item 10, this is the consideration of the membership agreement, and then 11 is the funding agreement.
Yes.
And just, if you have any questions or comments, otherwise we take a motion, but we should do them separately.
Move to approve 10.
Right, we have a motion to approve the membership agreement.
Second.
The second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Rich, did you want to vote on this one?
I think I'm gonna vote this
Okay,
time.
thank you. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wolken, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 7-0.
And item 11 is the funding agreement.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wolken, Kaler, Tanya, Coltman, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 7-0.
Thank you, Jonathan. We do appreciate all that your organization does. Obviously, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that not everyone in the public, even the council gets to see. But we know, and as you mentioned, with your organization is a tremendous resource, not just for trying to recruit new businesses and industry, but to support the ones that are already here looking to expand and grow. And so with that, just thank you for all that your organization does to support not just the city of Seward, but Seward County as a whole and all the communities within. So thank you.
Mayor. Thank you, Council.
All right, next we have the city administrator's report.
Oh, goodness. Budget-a-palooza. I think I've been sitting in Sydney's office or chasing department heads down for the last 2 weeks since I last saw you. That's a predominant one in it. Few other items is just closing down. We had some public community meetings with 7th Street residents and residents near Bradford Park, trying to work out some communication items to try and continue to address things that are going on over there. But we continue to get relief with 7th and Park opening up this week, and some other projects clearing up. So I think Bradford will be poured here shortly, and then we'll continue to watch that. So by the end of the month, we'll be in good shape on those. I would look out for adjustments on Highway 15. NDOT continues to move that project forward, and so there'll be some slight adjustments, moving more traffic into the actual southbound lane, probably close to Moffett by Thursday. And then the other one to look out for is on Monday of next week, I believe that's the 9th. They are gonna begin the process of rebuilding the intersection of Highway 15 and Seward Street. Because they skipped over that, the reason being is we didn't have the traffic signals and lights in yet, or NDOT didn't. And so that, all that product is in now, and so they're ready to do it, so they'll start on the east side. So that will not be open to through traffic. And so if you're coming eastbound from the west side, you will be able to turn south there. But if you're going westbound on Seward, you'll just get stuck in front of the courthouse. They'll probably block off some of that parking there as well for a turnaround, but beware.
I guarantee you most people aren't aware that they have to go back to fix this, so when all of your friends ask you, now what? You can explain, this is always part of the plan when they were waiting for those. But people are gonna obviously think that we're going back, and they may assume even something got messed up that we're
Yes,
fixing, which is not the
true.
case.
Josh's fault.
No.
Wow,
Wow.
bold statement.
Proud tonight.
And so we'll work through that. They anticipate that entire intersection will take a month. So they'll finish the entire eastern side and then they'll move to the western side. At that point, east can come in and head south, but the western portion then will be blocked off. And so it was gonna happen sooner or later. This is just when it's happening now. So the reason they continue to do that and make those adjustments is they still are on track and want to be done with the entire project by December 1st, at least with the roadways and driveways and sidewalks and stuff, so that's all done. And we're coming back doing cleanup stuff and, putting in some sod where we couldn't get it in before winter, stuff like that. So that's why you'll see them hodgepodging around. We had a good public meeting with SCCDP, Dr. Josh Fields was there, myself, Mike Onaby, and so meeting with Brian from NDOT, the project manager. So they continue to poke along. There'll be a little relief on Hillcrest temporarily, but then they'll go back and reclose that to do some other stuff up there. But our portion of it's out of the way that we had to do to lower that water main. So that's, for the most part, complete. I commend Chief Peters and his work on trying to do some outreach, we'll call it, on 5th Street. But I think the biggest one is now that school's in session and we've had a few weeks to kind of figure out our travel plans, travel times and stuff, it's tempered out a little bit more. But we will still continue, and we said this to Brian, and we had an actual 2nd Street resident there, that we're still just not seeing the usage of 2nd Street we would hope for. It's like, it is striped and designed for you to get north and south into town very efficiently and quickly, and people still want to sneak down 5th Street or go through the labyrinth of 7th Street. It's like, no, just go to 2nd. So, so we'll continue to monitor that, but I think people are getting the point, and we've tempered down the school traffic a little bit because people know what they're doing and where they're going now in the mornings.
Living on 5th Street, Greg, I wanna tell Chief Peters and all his staff, we really appreciate their presence. It's everybody real, recognizes that.
And I think for the truck traffic, especially the change that Brian made at the intersection of 5th and Highway 34 with that turn lane that's closed off. Locals are still turning there and that's fine, but now the truck traffic is like going right on and moving down to 2nd Street or going all the way back out to the actual detour. But that's just taking some time to get that in place, and I think it's working well to try and also alleviate some of that that roadway congestion. There's probably other things in the report. I can answer any questions about it, but I would say project items and budget have taken up a mass majority of my time.
Any questions or comments for Greg?
Move to approve.
Oh, yeah, I can note the wellness center. We're getting ready to pour the rest of the boulevard, the last quarter of that. The parking lot was completed, I think last week, and so it's sitting ready to be utilized. Lots of framing and drywalls going in now, final, those kind of elements. So you can really see, I know we had members of the council and some other members of the community on the Change the Game board come in and tour the facility. You really get a sense for all the rooms and the walls now as that continues to move on.
Have they shotcrete the sides of the pool?
They have not yet. So I think some of the initial pours for the outside elements have gone on, maybe some foundational stuff, but the shotcrete hasn't started yet. I think that starts this week. So my hope is that Sampson does what we do the time lapse to see that process.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll probably also get some videos of that and post it with their approval, just because it's an interesting process and how they put all that together. But you guys, a lot of you that came down there saw the rebar and everything that's in place. There's a lot of rebar. There's gonna be a lot of concrete.
A lot of rebar's gotta be really accurate.
Yep. So it's gonna be really interesting to see them do that process, and Joel's doing a good job on that, keeping up with them and heading out there and working on his grants that he's got going on. Again, in your budget, we have some new positions that Joel and Derek are working on, especially the child care director is the first one, and then the facility maintenance director will be shortly after that. But we'll be bringing that on with the budget approval to start basically in fiscal year 25, start advertising for that position and trying to locate a person to help operate our childcare needs out there. Then obviously to handle the maintenance and operations of the building itself, along with all the equipment in it. So those will be 2 new positions that are authorized, but that's what we've always planned for, so.
So with that, any other questions or comments? We'll get a motion to accept.
Mhm.
You get a second? Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wolken, Kaler, Tines, Colterman, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 7-0.
Do you have any future requests for council agenda items or administrative action? Seeing none. Jonathan, what's going on in Seward?
Hello again. Just a couple of notes here. We did our annual report and request for funding to Milford City Council earlier tonight. Thanks again for Seward City Council support. And then our last public sector request is to Utica this next Monday. We have a groundbreaking ceremony for Plum Creek Seed Services tomorrow at the Seward Rail Campus. It'll be at 9:30 a.m. You're welcome to join us and celebrate with Kellen and his team. In partnership with Concordia, Southeast Community College, Seward Public Schools, we're hosting the Nebraska Tech Builders Challenge on September 20th and 21st. This will welcome high school and college students for a 24-hour event focused on solving real-world issues by using technology to do so, also known as a hackathon, if anyone's heard of that before. If you'd like to learn more, please let me know. On September 22nd, we're hosting our annual Farm to Table culinary arts experience at the Dairy in Seward. You're welcome to purchase a ticket and join us for delicious food and drink, along with great music and wonderful fellowship. During this year's event, we're doing something a little bit extra. We're fundraising for our Kernels for Kids initiative by highlighting the important work of our child care service providers to offer them mini grants in the future. Please spread the word about this great collaborative event to support our local restaurants and child care service providers. Also on September 24th, from 4 to 6, we'll be hosting a business after hours event at Lighthouse Pentecostal. You're welcome to join us for delicious barbecue and great fellowship there as well. And then we have moved on September 27th, we're hosting the ribbon cutting for 6th Street Cafe at 4 p.m. Feel free to join us to celebrate this expanded restaurant in downtown Seward. And I know they have some work to do still, so that's kind of the new moved ribbon cutting date. So with that, happy to answer any questions. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions for Jonathan? Seeing none. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Wolken, Kaler, Tines, Colterman, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 7-0.
Thank you all and have a great night.
Yep.